Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So as usual, feel free to check out my personality story merch, where it's all about building a tribe here and finding out t-shirts and hoodies that can best match your personality traits. So there is definitely a diverse set of options out there, and also feel free to check out my Patreon for more exclusive content. The latest article on how do you improve TE, a step-by-step guide, is uploaded on Patreon right now, and today I'm going to be sharing my thoughts on the ENFJ personality. So I have actually put off making this video for a really long time because I know that my thoughts about this personality might differ from the mainstream. And again, I think if you have seen my previous videos, you would have known I don't believe in glorifying one type above the other. And so I personally do not buy into this idea that somehow NF types are like the most moral people in the world and how they are somehow incapable of being wrong in any way. And today in the video, I'm going to be touching on my thoughts about the ENFJ, both the positive and the not so positive ones. And every single personality type does have a dark side, I believe, and this is what I'm going to be touching on, and I'm going to be as honest as I can. And because of that, I would also want to make sure that you know, so I'm an INFJ, and I don't see my own type as being like always moral, always like great. So let's get started. I will be touching on what I think about the ENFJs, the positives first. And I do have a lot of experiences with ENFJ personalities. I would say though my experiences have been pretty polarizing because it really depends on what kind of ENFJ you're talking about, because people can use the same functions and just turn out to be completely different kinds of people, because it really depends on how they use the functions. So I mean, I'm sure you know in history, you know of like certain NFJs, I wouldn't name who, that are actually turn out to be dictators, and there are also obviously a lot of NFJs who are like really charitable and really like humanitarian and so on. So it really depends like overall how you use the function, not so much as the personality type yourself. I'm going to be touching on how ENFJs to me are very impressive, first of all, because they are able to seem really all-rounded. So what do I mean by that? You know, in most people's impressions, right, people can only be either really smart or really good at sports, or you know that there's this like dichotomy of like being like really popular and dumb, and also being like smart and kind of, you know, stuck at home all day and not having like a fulfilling life experience. I mean, there's always this like dichotomy, right, between like the nerd and a very like, I don't know, popular person. And for me, ENFJ as a personality seems to embody both. I'm not saying every single ENFJ is popular, but I'm saying they seem to embody both those traits, because I know of ENFJs who are really smart, who are like, you know, really good at what they are doing, and they are book smart, but at the same time they're also like really good at the physical stuff like sports, like sometimes it can be dance. I mean, it depends on the ENFJ. And because the reason is because they are strong at NI as a second function, which, you know, cause the book smart quality, I guess. And they're also pretty strong in SE. If they choose to develop it, if they are able to kind of, you know, have the integration of SE. I see that in many ENFJs. And so to me, they are pretty impressive, because very few people have both those qualities. Most people that I know tend to be kind of leaning towards one or the other. But ENFJs can be very well balanced in their sensing and intuitive sides. And because of that, they can kind of break the societal stereotypes of what people think like people should be categorized, because they kind of defy that category. Also, ENFJs are really good at being like all-rounded, similar to what I said before. They're really good at being like good at multiple things. They're really good at being efficient and multitasking, even though they don't have TE. ENFJs are among the most hardworking people that I've known, and they can really work really hard on many different things, and they really can dedicate their time. Like, I don't know how, but they're not as like strict as TE people, but they can somehow like still manage to finish a lot of things. They can be very disciplined people. I think definitely much more self-disciplined than INFJs, because they do have SE, which is a taking action kind of function to help them to really get things done. And they are also very active in the social sphere. So like I said, it's a very like multiple kind of endeavors going on, right? They're good at like the social stuff. They're good at like sometimes the physical activities and also the book smart part. They seem to be like being able to just like, handle all these things together. And for an INFJs, I'm like, how? Because I cannot multitask that well. I mean, I'm not as productive, I think, and I'm not able to kind of juggle all this and make myself like good at everything, or good at like so many things altogether. I think I'm also like a lot slower when it comes to like completing tasks because of like the weak SE problem. Another great thing about ENFJs is that they are really good at creating a very like inclusive environment in the workplace or in like a particular school club or whatever. I feel like they just naturally try to make people feel included in the group. So for example, as a boss, an ENFJ, I would rather prefer an ENFJ boss to a more like TE heavy boss, just personally, because I like being motivated and I like being inspired to do something, and I just like the encouraging vibe that the FE DOMs can give, especially ENFJs, because we do have the similar functions. And so when the ENFJ is encouraging, they can really make you feel like you can do a lot. And because of that, I would feel like I am contributing to something, and that makes me more driven. Like, I'm more of a purpose-driven person, so it makes me more encouraged to do more. Like, not that I am forced to do more or criticized into doing more, but motivated. And they are really good at creating this like environment where, they try to get most people to talk. They try to like not alienate anybody. Like in a workplace, they would try to get you to talk if they see you looking left out, or maybe looking shy or whatever. They are really like warm and welcoming that way. And I think that is very needed in a workplace, and also in like interest groups in general, because people do tend to, when they first join something, they do tend to want to form this like little groups among themselves, and some people may feel like, oh, I don't have anyone to talk to, and they are really good at making the new members feel welcomed and not like leaving anyone out of the discussion, so that like people can feel that they belong. And I think FE in general is really good at making people feel included and having a sense of belonging. Okay, so now on to the polarizing experience part. So again, not speaking for every single ENFJs, but I have had experiences with certain ENFJs that are kind of mixed, I guess, because ENFJs, it really depends on their primary motivation of their FE. So some ENFJs, they are motivated by a certain cause, and some ENFJs can be motivated by getting liked by people, and FE can have both those motivations. And if a particular ENFJ is very strongly motivated by approval and wanting to be liked, then that person can be very obsessed with popularity. And I know a few ENFJs like that. Obviously, they don't represent everyone, but I do know of a few influencers who are ENFJs, and they are really, really like kind of living off this like getting likes and comments. And to them, because their FE is used in that way, I think it's kind of like draining to both themselves and people around them, because they have to like constantly project this like really perfect image of themselves that is like kind and compassionate and like also like perfect looking. And I think it's just honestly it's just really exhausting, because obviously if you know them in real life, like as people, they have like different dimensions to them, but because they care so much about like popularity and how people think, they can kind of withhold their true opinions from people, and also just always like try to be with people with the same level of social power. And in that way it's like popularity by association, you know. And I do know some ENFJs who are like obsessed with popularity, and that's because of their extroverted feeling being the first function, and they almost like let FE control them instead of the other way around. And that's when it becomes detrimental, because they care so much about being liked that it also stresses them out, you know, because they have to think about like what they do, like is it considered mainstream enough, or you know, there are certain hobbies of theirs that are maybe not so cool and popular, and so they would try to not let that be like the center of their personality, even though it is still like quite a huge part of who they are. And so with those types of ENFJs, I would say that there is just too much emphasis on wanting to get approval from the outside, and in the long run obviously it's not sustainable, because they also know that it is not sustainable. There's another group of ENFJs that I also have like mixed experiences with, and that is with like a certain type of ENFJs. They are really, really like hung up on a particular cause. And again, like not that I have any problem with like people who are passionate about a cause, because obviously like for NFs, like a lot of NFs are passionate about something. And I do have my own passions, like where my own passions lie, but I think there is like a particular side of ENFJs or certain types of ENFJs that their life is like overly controlled by a cause, and they can kind of really structure their relationships and friendships around that, to the point where it's almost like pressuring you to do the same things that they do. So for example, I have a friend who's vegan, an ENFJ, and every single time she talks to me about being vegan, like it sounds like she wants me to become vegan, and because I'm not, like there's somehow something wrong with me. And I mean, I'm sure you have met like a lot of people like that, and I have also met like other personality types who are like that, and not ENFJ, but it's just an observation of mine that I think that the whole like dominant FE thing can have that effect where you want to influence people to become a certain way that you see is going to benefit the world. And I understand that because I'm an INFJ, so I have FE. But I think it has to come with certain boundaries of not like infringing on other people to the point where people feel uncomfortable and like judged for being different, or judged for having a different lifestyle. And for that friend of mine, she was also like very like upset whenever I have like a very different opinion on certain things. Like for example, she's like really into body positivity, and which is good for her, but I just happen to have a different take on that movement. Like I say, within that movement, there are people who are kind of shaming people who for like wanting to lose weight, and I feel like that's kind of moving away from the movement itself, because body positivity is supposed to be being able to like approve of people, and the fact that there are some people who are shaming others for losing weight, to me it's like counter to what the movement should be about. And so basically she just got like really upset over just like different opinions in general from what she see to be right. They are judges and they also lead with a judging function. So it's really hard to change their minds. Like generally speaking, for people leading with a judging function, it's really hard to change their minds. And with ENFJs, I find it especially difficult. And if they're not the kind who is able to be okay with other people having a different opinion, then it can actually affect the friendships that they have. Like they can kind of like limit their friendships to only like this few group of like people who have like exact same opinions, which is, to me, it's not realistic, because everyone is going to have a different opinion. Like the more you talk to people, the more you're going to realize that everyone is going to have some kind of different opinion. Like it's not possible to have like 100% the same opinion unless it's like people are pressuring you to do that. Because ultimately, we come from different backgrounds. We all have our own like set of values, and it's impossible to have like 100% match on every single subject. And for me, the fact that she actually chose to like, literally I've had like 1 or 2 ENFJ friends who chose to like not continue the friendship because of like really minor disagreements, and just like really, really minor differences in opinions. I find that to be really sad for me, because we have like so many other great experiences together, and it's because of like the one thing that we can't agree on, and it's not even major, that caused this, immediate like unfollowing or something like that. And I'm not saying that every other personality types can't have that problem, but I really think that this type of ENFJs need to be really careful where they're coming from with the FE, because as much as FE can be really caring towards people and considerate, it can also have a judgmental element. And I know that because I'm an FE user, and in order to coexist in a society, people really need to be able to listen, to be able to have conversations and not see everything as like black and white, meaning without nuance. So that's like my combined experiences with ENFJs. I know it's kind of a mix, and generally I do have a very positive experiences with this type. It's just that I want to bring up 2 sides to personality, because every single personality does have a different side to themselves, and it's never like, oh, this personality is perfect. I don't believe in that, first of all. And let me know, what you think. Feel free to share your thoughts about this personality, and I'll see you in the next video. Remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this. Bye.